Hey, welcome back to the Club Junkie Podcast. Hopefully you're having a great week. It is another Thursday. I'm excited because Thursday is league night, so I'm all jacked up. We'll give a little recap of what happened last week. And I'm excited to go. But before we get into today's show, just want to let you know it is brought to you by Titleist and the Vokey SM10 wedges. Nothing can do more to sharpen your short game than a fresh set of grooves, especially if those grooves are spin milled into a new Vokey design SM10 wedge. Bob Vokey and his team are always grinding, and the work shows in the SM10, already a favorite among the best wedge players in the world. The SM10 was designed around the three keys to great wedge play: shot versatility, distance and trajectory control, and maximum spin. Top players around the world love the look and feel of Vokey wedges. The SM10 lineup includes the new T-Grind, a low bounce option that encourages real artistry around the greens. So, score some fresh grooves with Vokey SM10 and see how sharp your short game can be. Find the nearest Vokey fitter or use the online wedge selector tool to unlock the right SM10s for you at Vokey.com. So, I actually just got the Vokey, folks at Vokey were nice enough to send me a brand new 56 and 60. So, got a 56 14F grind and a 6010S. So, brand new ones. Wrapper is still on them. I'm going to bust those off here shortly, but I got some fresh grooves for this year, which is pretty darn exciting. So, again, it is Thursday. Hopefully, you guys are having a great one. I am excited because it's supposed to be a good day tomorrow or today. I'm recording this on Wednesday. It's supposed to be a good day today, and I'm excited for league. So, before we get into the products we're going to talk about, league last week was really good. I know we talked about what's in the bag. I actually went out, shot 39, had one birdie, a double bogey, and a bunch of pars on the cards. So shot 39, 4 over, which wasn't too bad for my kind of first night out in a while. Haven't played on real grass since the end of February, so it's been a little while. And the biggest thing usually is short game. When you get out there, hitting some of those wedge shots, whether the 30, 60, whatever that weird yardage is, or, funny little lie that you just don't get at the range or indoors, those things there always, kind of are tough to get used to it and tough to get the feel back on those. So played pretty well. I mean, I brought out, we did What's the Bag last week. I knew that 52 was going to be a little interesting because it's a little weak. The first hole came up short on that shot. I thought the wind was going to help me a little bit more. Left it a little bit kind of short right, but hit a great little chip shot with the 56, rolled it up to like 2 feet, made the putt, walked away with par. So I was off and running kind of there. Birdied 2 with a nice, probably like 15-footer, kind of right to left breaker. Hit it pin high, just left it right, and then just made this 15-foot putt. But the even roll went really well. The new RTZ wedges are really good. I'll probably do a show on those maybe next week, something like that. We'll jump into those because they are really good. I do like them a whole lot. And then, the Thai Fusions, which I played a lot, they performed really well. I mean, hit a couple just, terrible off-the-toe shots that ended up in decent spots that I was able to make a par or bogey from. So the only thing that I really didn't do well out there, I didn't drive the ball well at all. I had the, G440 Max with that Atom Max shaft, and it wasn't the shaft for that. It was just my swing. I was just smothering the ball and hitting it left. But the one surprising one, or probably the most surprising club in terms of how well, it's tough. Putter was really good, and then 3-wood. I hit a terrible swing on one, but hit a good shot. Just was in the left rough that was there. Hit a great drive on 2 with the QI35 with the Ventus Red, and then on the 8th hole, I flat out topped my drive. I was maybe 20 yards into the fairway. I mean, that ball couldn't have went more than 100, 125, 150 yards. I mean, it was short. And I had a long way in, and I hit a just off the deck monster 3-wood with a baby draw on it just right down the middle of the fairway. And I ended up having like 118 in. And when I went back to like Google, images, because I kind of knew where the pin was and whatever, so I kind of did the yardage, and that thing was between 250 and 255 off the deck with roll, all that. I mean, total yardage. But that thing was probably one of the best 3-woods I've ever hit. So ended up making a double bogey there anyway, though, because I hit kind of a bad wedge shot, left side of the green, chunked a chip, chipped it, down the hill, ran by the hole. It was just like a whole mess. So hit, terrible drive, great 3-wood, and then just struggled. But shot 39, so I'll take it. First night of the year. It was decent. There was a little bit of wind out there, but nothing too crazy. I'm hoping we get a good day for week 2 as well. So if you want to see what's in the bag, go check it out on YouTube. Go to Golf WRX on YouTube, and I'll have a link like in my Instagram at Club Junkie Pod. On the stories there, I'll have a link to it there, and I think it should be probably on the front page of Golf WRX. But there will be a what's in the bag. So this week is 14 brand new clubs. I'm looking at them over there right now, and yeah, we'll see how these 14 go. So playing the back 9, going to hit a couple more drivers there, and hopefully we'll have a decent score. So good week 1, and yeah, so far a good week. So excited to get going. And today we are going to talk about 2 things. We're going to talk about one, a club that's probably one of the most popular in terms of asked about, all that I've had in a while, and then a set of iron shafts that's pretty interesting. So I've been waiting to talk about these. I've been hitting them for a little bit, and yeah, so we'll get into it. So first thing we'll start off with, we're going to go brand new TaylorMade R7 Quad mini driver. I know it is like one of the hottest things. Everybody's talking about it. Mini drivers are all the rage right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that I have nothing in my hand because I went and hit it a bunch, and then another guy at the office wanted to hit it really, really badly. So I had to bring it in and give it to him because just like everybody else, he was wanted to see what all the hype was about and all that. So I don't have it in my hand right now, but I have hit it a few times, and yeah, it is a good looking mini driver for the for what it is. I was a guy who worked in a shop early 2000s. I was working in a shop in like 2001ish, something like that. And I worked for a few years. So for me, I was there when a lot of the R series stuff was out. I mean, I saw R580s, R510s, the R5s, and then the R7s and all that. So I've seen, I was working there when a lot of this stuff came out. So R7 Quad, I remember those being in shop. Very cool. I remember being able to having the wrench, being able to mess with all the weights. And yeah, so it was a cool time. I remember having like a bin with a couple of the models that had like upgraded shafts in them and stuff. So very, very cool. And then yeah, we get the R7 Quad. So when you look at it, it definitely has kind of an R7 Super Quad look. I think the R7 Quad has like a silver sole. This one here, all black. From the bottom, I think it looks good. 4 movable weights. You'll see the 2 heel and toe, and then the 2 in the back that kind of look like exhaust ports that are in the center. But just gives you a bunch of options. I left both heavy weights in the back for kind of that maximum forgiveness, more launch. But you can push those things forward to take some spin off, lower the launch a little bit, move them to one side or the other to make it draw or fade bias. Whole lot you could do with these movable weights, which is pretty cool. And then you toss that in with the adjustable hosel, and yeah, you just got a bunch of options for you to get this thing dialed in for your swing. So overall, I like the look. I think the retro thing is cool. I think TaylorMade's done a little bit of retro with every single mini driver that's come out, and this one is probably my favorite. I did think the copper burner was pretty cool, but this one here I think I like the best. But excuse me, all black on the bottom, yellow stripes. But just really good looking. And then for the top, it looks good. I like the matte Infinity Carbon crown. You don't see any ledges, any edges, anything like that, kind of like what QI10 had, but this one's matte black. There's just 2 little yellow and red little marks down near the heel, and then the TaylorMade alignment T at the center. Overall, I think it looks really good. It's got kind of the more traditional TaylorMade shape, kind of like QI35LS. It's got that more kind of like, I don't know if you call it pear shape or what, but it kind of slopes a little bit more down in the heel section. Looks really, really good, and I think they did a great job with the styling. The knock, I will give it the 13.5 degree head that I had, which was just a regular 13.5 degree, set neutral, all that, did look a touch shut. So I didn't love that part about it. It was, probably about 2 degrees shut. So that I wish it sat a little bit more square. If you're somebody who, was thinking, hey, I probably want the 11.5 degree, I would say take a look at 13 and see about opening that thing up if you're somebody who likes to look at a little bit more of an open or square face, because it is just a little bit shut. But other than that, I mean, the face height is, it looks good. The funny thing is I actually thought the old like burners and all that were much bigger. At least they look bigger. This like looks like it has a slightly shallower face to it. When I kind of looked at it, it was like, maybe there's a chance you can hit this off the deck. It's not quite as deep, and it's a little bit more compact heel to toe than looking at it compared to burner mini and maybe 300. But overall, it is 305 cc's, so it is a little bit I consider on the smaller side. I mean, the Elite Mini is what, like 340 or right around that. This one's 305. So definitely something more compact. I know better players will be able to hit it off the deck fairly easily. Again, I think that face is just a touch shallower. And the other cool thing when you look at design, the head cover, you could flip it inside out. So it's R7 on the outside, flip it inside out. It is black and white checkerboard with a cool little TaylorMade tag on it. So I love those little features that they pop in there. Very, very cool. But yeah, this thing is pretty sweet. I do have to say, the first swing with it, the thing I noticed right out of the gate, aside from, hey, this thing goes a long way, was just the fact that this thing sounds and feels fantastic. Extremely muted. It is more of a crack kind of sound than metallic, high pitched tingy or anything like that. It doesn't like tong. It's really got like a low pitch crack. Really impressed with how it was, because the first time I hit it was indoors. Like I hit it, in a simulator kind of TrackMan booth, bay. Hit it there and was, like I said, really impressed with how good it sounded. It was really quiet. I usually hit with like headphones on, end up taking them out just to hit a few shots, and was like, wow, this is really, really good sounding. It's kind of like a little bit like Ping G440 in a sense, where it's just got this low pitch crack, super muted, and I think it sounds fantastic. So I think they did a phenomenal job. I kind of wish the QI35 series sounded like the R7 series, because it is really, really good. Feel on it is solid as well. I think the face is kind of soft. You kind of feel that ball kind of compress a little bit. The face kind of works with it. Everything kind of feels like it's trying to get that ball off the face with some added speed to it. And overall, I thought, sound and feel were really, really good. Now, I've always liked TaylorMade sound and feel. It's always been kind of a big thing for me, but this one here, I think they did an absolute phenomenal job on it. So sound and feel, my favorite out of the mini drivers, between all the ones I've hit, and I've hit all four. I've hit the Elite, I've hit the PSG Secret Weapon, I've hit the GT280. Now this one, I've never hit the Cobra because it's not out yet, but this one sound and feels the best to me in my ear. I know some people, sound and feel is very subjective, but to me, this is the best of kind of the four. So really love that. Now, out there, I think it is a club that is extremely easy to elevate. Now, I know I'm kind of comparing a little bit of Elite Mini in 11.5 to R7 in 13.5, so it's not an apples-to-apples comparison there. But R7 seems to just easily launch in the air. The 13.5-degree head, easy to get up in the air, almost effortless. I think, I don't remember a shot that I hit kind of like low and left or lower. Everything there was just really easy to hit. Everything had a nice high trajectory to it. And with that, it was something that kind of went a little more draw to it than fade of all that. When I look at kind of all my shots that I hit with this thing, it definitely has a little bit more of a left side to it. I would say it's probably more neutral bias, but I was just a little bit more left with it. It definitely has some heat. When I look at like I said, my kind of like trajectory thing with it. Oh, wrong screen. Well, when I look at the trajectory of it, everything there in the circle is pretty much just left to center, which is kind of unique. Everything I've been hitting is kind of a little bit right. But this thing was really easy to turn over and kind of draw just a little bit. It wasn't a crazy draw, wasn't huge, just a little bit of turning over, and it was effortless. But the height, no problem. I didn't try hitting off the deck because I was hitting off mats, and I just didn't feel like adding a bunch of that turf kind of burn to the bottom of the club head. And I typically don't hit mini drivers off the deck very well, so didn't hit it there. But this everything I hit was off the tee. Super easy to hit. I thought it was actually pretty darn forgiving. I thought it was really easy to kind of hit the center. I think that shorter shaft on there, for me at least, I'm not a tall guy. I'm 5'9". I don't have like crazy long arms or anything like that. So getting it on center was actually really easy. I thought it was really consistent to hit the center of the club face. And I thought I got a lot of really good shots out of it because of that. It was, pretty forgiving, pretty darn straight. I'm not looking to see all my numbers here on the screen, and I have to like put on my reading glasses to see it because I'm old. But yeah, so easy to launch, easy to hit straight. I thought it was fairly neutral, just maybe a slight bit draw in like kind of the 2-weight back setting. You can always throw those weights out in the toe and bring that thing and make it more fade bias, which is kind of nice as well. But yeah, I mean, in terms of carry, this is off a tee. When all the shots I've hit. So 233 was my average carry with this thing, and that was pretty consistent. I mean, it was really like 225 to 230, to a little bit over 235, stuff like that. But I saw a lot of 229s, 230 on the nose, things like that. It was really, really easy to hit high, and it carried a long way. I was really impressed with how far it went. I didn't think it would go that far. It definitely a little bit longer than the PXG for me. So the secret weapon for me was an average carry of 229, so about 4 yards longer with the R7. And I think a lot of that had to do with the just with the height. I think the PXG I was able to hit it technically at a higher launch angle, but I just didn't remember it getting as high in terms of apex as the R7 did. So 233 was the carry number. Spin was 3351, so it actually had some spin. And even for balls that were pretty straight to maybe even falling left, it was a decent amount of spin there. I mean, I know the PXG spun less at like 2876. This isn't driver for me. This is a mini driver. So having a little bit more launch, having a little bit more spin, I don't mind that. I kind of like that for a control. And then also it gives me hope that maybe off the deck, if I needed to hit it, I possibly could do that. So 33.51 was the spin there. And then ball speed, 141.7 was what I averaged, which was pretty much exactly what I averaged with the PXG. Which ended up, being 0.1 faster than the R7. But I feel like there might have been a couple more ups and downs with the PXG compared to the R7. Just it was extremely consistent, and again, I didn't get crazy off the toe, crazy off the heel with this one. I hit a lot of shots in the center, and it showed there. But 141.7 was kind of my ball speed there. Launch at 14.2 was my average. I was kind of shocked. That was actually a little bit lower than I thought. I actually launched the PXG off the tee at 15, so about a degree, but the R7 just seemed to have a taller apex, and it actually did, which is the funny part. When you look at apex, even though it launched at 14.2, my average apex, 101 compared to 98. So compared to the PXG, it did get up higher overall, even though the launch was maybe slightly lower on average, but 101 was the apex, and then a smash factor of 147. So, I mean, I was hitting this thing pretty darn well, and it was impressive. I do have to say, I was choking down just a touch on it because it does feel a little bit long in my hand. I know the on the specs for it, if you look at the length of it, I think it's 43.7, so 43 and 3/4. I probably was choking down to around 43 inches on it, and like I said, at that length, I was easily able to hit it in the center over and over again. So teeing it up kind of low, still got it high in the air. It was just overall something that was really, really easy to hit. I think it's a great driver replacement. I mean, off the deck, I think that player, it's going to depend. High speed player, sure, you're going to be able to hit it fairly well, hit it off the deck. For somebody like myself who doesn't have that kind of speed or doesn't hit a really high ball anyway, it may be a little bit of a challenge there. But off the tee, I mean, the thing is an absolute cannon. I think it's a great option for, like I've talked about, either being the player that 3-wood is no longer really a club that's used in the bag and you want something else, and this is an alternate driving club, or for the player who's really struggling with driver, this could be something that you're not going to give up a ton of forgiveness or a ton of distance. Like here, I mean, you're really looking at, compared to a lot of the drivers I've hit lately, this thing was maybe like 8 or 9 yards shorter. That's it. I mean, 8 or 9 yards, that's it. I mean, you're talking for as high as it went, as long as it went. I mean, you're really not giving up a whole lot playing this over driver, especially if you're hitting it straighter. And I would argue for myself, like this probably went, in terms of dispersion, at a tighter range than driver, in terms of this kind of time. I mean, out of the course, whatever, I'll see, because there's times when you get driver right, whatever. But with this one here, I mean, honestly, it definitely made me think about, do I leave a driver at home and just go mini driver for a round and just see, how do I play with a mini driver instead of a driver and just going no driver whatsoever. So, but really easy to hit, really love the sound and feel to it. I think it's pretty darn forgiving. I didn't mess around with moving weights. I just didn't have that many swings in me to hit, some of the other stuff I brought with me. So didn't really see how those changed the flight, but it definitely be interesting to see, for certain players, can you, lower that flight with shifting the weight forward, or make it a little bit more fade bias with throwing stuff out in the toe. So in the neutral position, though, really, really impressed with it. I haven't said that about a lot of mini drivers. I know that people ask me about them, and I'm kind of like, well, they're not for me. This one here, really, really impressed. I hit it really well. So I want to get it back and hit it some more. Definitely want to take it to the course, but I got to let some other people, have their shot with it as well. So overall, though, really impressed with the R7 Quad Mini. I think they did a great job with it. I think it's a really solid mini driver. And if you're looking for something that's easy to hit up in the air, easy to launch high, and easy to hit long, it's definitely something worth trying. And again, if you're struggling with driver, it is something that could definitely replace it, or maybe be the band-aid until you get driver figured out. But you can at least go play and get off the tee fairly well, and not have to worry about hitting a 3-wood or a hybrid off the tee, and then having make it every par 5 a 3-shot hole or whatever. Here you can kind of get down there and play things a little bit more normal. So R7 Mini, like I said, really, really impressed with it. I think it's really straight. And like I said, sound and feel are absolutely fantastic. So I'm a big fan of it. Like I said, carry 233, spin 3351, launch for ball speed 141.7, launch 14.2 with an apex of 101 feet, 1.47 smash factor. So overall, a pretty solid showing from the R7 Quad mini driver. All right, so mini driver there, and now we move into a set of iron shafts. So pretty interesting. I know everybody out there is, you probably know Nippon Modus and all the different models they offer, between, everything from the Tour 105 up to the Tour 130. Excuse me. There are quite a few profiles to kind of fit everyone out there. They kind of look at the 130, 120 are kind of unique bend profiles that kind of do different things. And then the 115, or no, the 15, the 105, 115, 125, all kind of more traditional in terms of how they're designed and how they play. So the 125, 115, 105, typically kind of mid-launch, mid-spin shafts. And then, the 120 is going to kind of like a lower launch shaft with low spin. The 130 is kind of a little bit of a heavy, stiff shaft that launches a little bit higher, but still, fairly low spin. And now they're bringing out the 110. So this is the brand new Modus 110. So I do have this one in my hand. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see not there's a whole lot to show with a steel, shaft, but it looks like every other Modus, except for when you get down there, it says Tour 110 on it. So now the interesting thing about this shaft is when I first heard about it, I said, oh, great, you've got, a lighter weight Tour 120. Which I think a lot of people would like. A lot of people like the Tour 120. They like the fact, it's a little lower launching, a little flatter launching, a little lower spinning than, say, the 115. That would be, somewhat similar, or 125. But no, this is actually a kind of different profile. And for Nippon, they kind of label it as something where the zero shafts, as they call it, the 120, 130, and now 110, are kind of like unique profiles that they design that are kind of like pushing the limits, trying new things, trying to get the shafts to do slightly different things. And the 5 models are a little bit more traditional. So with the 120 is kind of an interesting shaft as well. It's got kind of a firm handle, but then it kind of gets really soft in the kind of the middle. And then the tip gets stiff again, so it's kind of there. And then the 110, and then the 130 is kind of like super stiff handle, one of the softer tips, so it kind of tapers down through the midsection. And now the 110 is kind of very unique, where it's a kind of a linear flex, but it's soft in the handle, gets kind of really stiff in the midsection, and then softens back up at the tip. So the middle is kind of the stiffest part of the shaft. And what they're trying to do is kind of combine the, kind of the trajectory of 120, the spin of 130, and the weight of Tour 105. So they're kind of like blending the 3 shafts to make this one. But a very unique profile, something a little bit different. And it's going to basically try to play a little bit different depending on the player. So, but yeah, very unique profile there. In terms of weight in stiff flex, it comes in at 110 grams. X goes up to 115, and the regular flex goes to 105. So, and basically, too, the 105 is going to be a little bit softer, a little bit higher launching, a little bit higher spin, where the X is going to be, a little bit lower launching and lower spin. So this one here should kind of play in as kind of mid-launch and low spin with just a different feel to it than the 15 series. So it should spin maybe a little bit less than those and maybe launched a little bit less. So yeah, really kind of a unique shaft, but out there when you actually go swing, and I built this up into these Ping Blueprint S heads. So I basically built 4-through pitching wedge in these and built these things up standard length, nothing too crazy, all the same, and used some cheap Amazon grips that I got off the test, and man, they tear your hands up. They're kind of junk, but they still were firm rubber. They kind of gave good feel. but not a grip that I'm looking to try again. That's for sure. So, but these 110s, I mean, when you get them out there, interesting enough, definitely that midsection is stiff because to me it makes the whole shaft seem a little bit firmer and stiffer. Now it's interesting because the 120 to me always feels a little bit soft, even though it's kind of a lower, more penetrating ball flight, kind of a lower launch shaft. Usually you consider that as a really stiff kind of boardy profile. But that one to me is like really kind of soft, and it has a lot of kind of flex to it. Most of it, of course, kind of down in the shaft. This one here, interesting enough, I feel like, the whole kind of that middle to tip section is extremely rigid, very stiff. Most of the flex, which I don't feel like you feel a ton of, does happen higher up, kind of right below the grip, right below your hands. You kind of feel the shaft move there. The rest of it, though, really, really stout. And I think overall, this might have, I've only had a little bit of experience with 130s. Those are pretty boardy. I would say that these are probably right behind it in terms of the feel of stiffness. These definitely have a little bit more of a boardier feel than I thought they would have. Still extremely smooth, just like Nippon you'd expect it to be. Everything Modus is pretty smooth, and it is there. And it has a really good kind of feel to it. I mean, these are in soft forged heads, and when you hit it solid, you get a nice feel out of these things. You don't get any harsh vibration, anything like that. When you miss it, of course, the head has a big thing to do with it. But again, you're not getting tons of really harsh, bad vibration running up the shaft into your hands, even when you catch it a little thin. But this one here, just, has a little bit stiffer feel. You don't feel as much kind of like of that hard kick of the shaft as you do feel with, say, like 115, 105, those shafts. You're just not getting that. You're getting a shaft that kind of feels connected. Just solid kind of the whole way through. And overall, just it feels definitely stiffer than 120. And I know 120 is kind of a soft shaft, and if you go by kind of like frequency, they frequency out really, really low. I don't know about this one yet. I haven't heard, and I don't have a frequency machine. I don't kind of build anything to that. But this one here definitely feels, more stout there. As you load it, you just don't feel as much of the shaft bend. It kind of stays with you as kind of a direct kind of connection to the hands and the arms. And then at impact, you're just not getting that massive, kick that you might feel with some of like the 115, 105, 125 shafts. It just kind of stays there. But overall, I thought trajectory was still, I was still able to get this in the air fairly well. To me, I don't feel like it flies as low as 120. To me, 120 flies a little bit lower. I think this goes similar to 115 because I was just recently hitting the 115 and another set of irons. I think this goes just a little bit lower than that. Not a ton, though, not crazy flat, but just a little bit. And when I looked at kind of the specs between the two clubs that I hit, now granted they're different clubs, so you're not really comparing exactly the same thing. But launch number wise, you're a little bit, I'm actually a little bit higher with the Modus 110 than the 115, between two different irons. But with this thing here, like I said, really easy to hit, really easy to square up. The thing just really wanted to go straight. I didn't feel like it was too stiff where, it would promote anything really to the right. It wasn't really easy to crank and turn over. And I think a lot of that, having that mid to tip section be kind of stiff, it is harder to turn over and hit it really hard left compared to maybe, the 120 or something like that. It definitely was something that liked to go straight, and it was very consistent in terms of doing that. So even shots kind of slightly missed. The ball seemed to stay on line really well. Now I know, again, these Blueprint S heads are definitely more forgiving and more stable, than they should be for just a forged CB. But I think this shaft definitely helps out with adding some of that stability and some of that accuracy to those swings. Now this one here, hitting just 7-iron, I was basically hitting 7-irons. I hit a few 4-irons, stuff like that. But for the 7-iron, kind of focused the most on that in terms of getting numbers. Average carry for these Blueprint S's with the 110 is 159.4. So I try to hopefully get to a 160 with a lot of my 7-irons. This one here coming in just under that, but 159.4 is my average. It was pretty consistent. I did have a few as I was hitting balls, and I just hit some pretty terrible shots that just went nowhere. But that was all swing, and that wasn't really me. And then spin 66.75. So definitely spun a little bit more than the 115s. Again, not the exact same iron head, so you can't completely compare, but about 400 RPM difference between. And they were Mura TC202s, so a similar, forged cavity back, but about 400 RPM more with the 110s compared to the 115s. For me, again, different heads, so can't really say that's the only factor. Ball speed came in at 113.3 with a 7-iron, and launch of 22.1 with an apex of 99. So easy to launch in the air, a little bit higher launching than those TC202s with the Modus 115s. But these just have a totally different feel to them. And so I think, for me, I would consider these kind of like, mid-launch, slightly low launch. I wouldn't consider them low spin, even though on paper they're a little bit lower spinning. They did come in just a little bit higher, but also these were a little bit harder to turn over. I remember the 202s, I was able to hit a little bit more of a draw with it, so that will bring some of that spin down as well. These definitely were a little bit more straight to even a slightly right ball flight, and I think it's just timing with this one having that lower section so much stiffer. It just was a little bit more, took a little bit more to kind of square it up and release it. So these 110s really solid. I think these are really stable. I like these. I think this is a decent alternative to the 120. I think players who find 120 being kind of soft, this 110, even though it's lighter weight, could be something that gives you that feel that you're really looking for, something a little bit stouter, a little bit stiffer, and maybe offering that kind of flatter ball flight without feeling so soft or having to move up to like the X or TX Flex to get that feel that you want. So these 110s are really good. I think they're really consistent. I think they're solid. I don't know if they're necessarily for me. I think I'm still more of like a 115, 125 guy, something that launches just a little bit higher. And it typically has a little bit more spin. But for that player who needs something a little bit more penetrating, I think these 110s are going to be solid. I think they'll be a pretty good hit. I know that weight range is starting to become more and more popular. That 105 to 110, 115 range. That's where people are starting to kind of move down from the old dynamic golds and stuff at the 130 range. Instead of going crazy light to graphite or something like that, they're kind of making that stop at that 110, 115 arena, and I think these are going to be in a good sweet spot in terms of weight and everything else out there. And again, you get that Nippon Modus kind of smooth feel to it that has good feedback while still getting something that could kind of controls launch and spin a little bit. But they're still easy to get up in the air. They're still easy to elevate. And again, those iron heads are really solid. So paired with this shaft, you've got a really, really good combination of a set of irons there. So, So again, 159.4 was my average carry with that. 66.75 was spin. 113.3 ball speed. 22.1 launch. 99 foot apex, and that is with my 7-iron. So, I like the 110s. It's gonna be interesting. I want to get them on the course, see how they play out there. Just because turf interaction when you get into the grass and all that will be a little bit different. Hit a few tee shots, just all around different. But out on the range so far, been really solid, both indoors and out, hitting these things. So we'll be excited to hit more with these. The new Modus 110 looks to be really, really solid. It's something I think you're going to see more and more of as the year goes on. So that is what I've got for the R7 Quad and the Nippon Modus 110. So that's the show today. I'm going to go play some golf. So hopefully you guys have a great one. Hopefully you're playing golf this weekend or this week, whatever. Maybe your leagues are starting up soon, whatnot. But hopefully you play well. And we'll talk to you guys next week.